In our state, a few farmers got into the fields to start their spring work. However, in most of Wisconsin, conditions are far too wet and cold for planting, although a few farmers to the south were able to start oats. Manure application is underway in fields that can support machinery for farms and locations that do not fall under local hauling restrictions. Farmers are continuing to explore new nutrient management practices, especially during the spring and summer.
Well, it was a brutal fall getting manure pits empty, both on the amount of moisture that we had, which took away days of hauling, and then the early freeze-up. So we didn't get as empty as we would have liked to have been, but we were close enough, and we'll make it well till spring. I've not heard any personal stories of people that are in trouble. The good news is we're a pretty good community, and if you're full and your neighbor's got room, there's quite often opportunities to share, haul some over to your neighbor, and it costs, but you know, you got to do it.
You know, as a steward of the land, I think every farmer out there is. You know, we're looking to improve for not only our generation, but our future generation. Sustainability is huge right now in the industry, and you know, these different tillage practices, injecting, trying to figure out how to inject in the standing crops, and different times and different zones that we can inject is a very you know, attractive future to me, at least, and that keeps me intrigued, and I want to work to improve.
Some local counties have restrictions in place preventing hauling on sensitive soil until April 15th. Nutrient management plans and local ordinances must still be followed after that date. A Wisconsin farmer whose name and products are known around the world is saying goodbye to the dairy industry this weekend. Jamie Perez shares his story and how he has made an impact for dairy farmers around the world.
Just off U.S. Highway 12 lies an iconic yellow barn, the welcome mat to Baraboo. It's a farm known around the world. More than 30 countries, in fact, have bought cattle from this very farm.
Have been involved with cattle for as long as I can remember.
This is Mike Holschbach's farm. He's the former president of the World Dairy Expo, and a very decorated farmer at that.
For decades, it's been up at 3 o'clock in the morning and, you know, milking cows and caring for them till 7 at night.
This farm has been his life for years, and it's got a long span of family history.
My in-laws came here, I believe, in 1961, and they operated the farm till we talked about till 1984 when we bought it.
But the next few days will be Mike's last time with the cattle he's raised for generations.
I've tried to prevent myself from even thinking about it.
Mike is retiring from the dairy farming industry, a choice that won't be easy, but he knows it's time.
Empty. I think that is going to be the word of the day for a while. It's just going to be an empty feeling.
The cattle have become his family.
There's an emotional tie to it. There is no question.
He's seen generations of cattle and cared for them all. And to make the bond that much stronger, all of them have names.
Her name's Glitter.
He's selling all 230 cattle on his farm this Saturday. Watching that last cattle leave will be the hardest part.
It's like being part of a family, and it's like seeing your daughter go off to college.
After years of milking and bathing and all the other glamorous parts of the job, his last hope is that the next owners love them as much as he does.
That's the way I would like to leave a legacy, is that for our cattle to go to the next farm and be profitable and make those people proud and make those people happy that they came and purchased our cattle.
Several local farmers who raise heifers in Nebraska are feeling the impact of the blizzard and devastating floods. In addition to lost animals, feed reserves were practically wiped out. A nonprofit is now stepping up to help feed the livestock. Farm Rescue's Operation Haylift is on a mission that is to deliver bales to Nebraska to help these farmers.
Gravel went into the pastures. They've got piles of gravel on these pastures. They'll never be the same. So what they need now to keep their cattle, you know, healthy and strong, and this is what they need. They need the hay. We like to give them a hand up, not a hand out, but to, you know, offer that assistance so they can get over this hump and keep doing what they're doing to feed America.
The group started in North Dakota about 2 years ago during a drought and has helped communities across the U.S. Farm Rescue has delivered almost 40 loads of hay to Nebraska in the past 3 weeks. The deal to replace NAFTA has been agreed to by the U.S., Mexico, and Canada, but it is not formally in place until it is passed by Congress and signed by the President. Our D.C. correspondent Morgan Wright has more on the impact that deal could have for farmers.
Congressman Tom Reed of New York says the U.S.-Mexico-Canada agreement is crucial to struggling farmers in his state and around the country.
Well, first of all, it opens up more markets to them in regards to Canada.
Reed says in upstate New York, dairy farmers have struggled because Canada refused to import their products.
One of the large items that USMCA promises deliver for dairy farmers.
Veronica Nye with the Farm Bureau says dairy prices have been low for 5 years.
Most of the time when ag prices, you typically think that things hit a low price and then there's some rebound.
But Nye says for dairy farmers, those low prices haven't rebounded. The Farm Bureau says the USMCA would go a long way in adding extra security for farmers.
That's real money to real farmers where they're actually making money, they're actually investing in their farms, and they're putting a little bit aside for a rainy day.
With the three countries agreeing to a deal, there could be some relief in sight if Congress takes action, but supporters like Reed must still sell the deal to a divided Congress.
American workers, manufacturers, supply chains for our auto industry, rebuilding the core of U.S. steel back in the U.S. ground is something that is going to be a benefit of this agreement going forward.
Congressman Reed says Democrats and Republicans should be united on this issue to support American workers and farmers. In Washington, Morgan Wright.
And speaking of trade, U.S. Agriculture Secretary Sonny Perdue shared his thoughts about the ongoing U.S. trade war with China. Perdue says he understands the anxiety among U.S. farmers because it is their family's livelihood at stake. The secretary says the roadblock right now is that China has not lived up to its commitments. He is optimistic a deal will get done because the two sides are still talking. Secretary Perdue also spoke about the lack of young people coming back to the farm and says the trade war is partially to blame.
Farming is a risky business, we know that, but again, you can't expect young people to go into for passion because they love the lifestyle of farming if they can't feed their family that way. What I've told the president before is that farmers are true patriots, and they are, and they're some of his biggest supporters, and they've been very loyal, but it's difficult to pay the bank with patriotism.
Although there's hope that we will see price improvements in 2019, challenges certainly still exist. And that is why farmers need to look at options they can control. Mike Austin spoke with a financial expert for some tips.
First of all, you really need to work with your suppliers. Keep talking to them. And I know the suppliers are taking a large burden of the payables out right now. So just send them something. Keep talking to them. And now we're getting into the spring planting time of year, and you really need to talk to them about how much they will give a particular producer as far as leniency on credit, or if they will give credit in some cases.
Saporsky, himself a former ag banker, has suggestions on how to work with their lenders.
Bringing those last 3 years of cash flow in, showing what happened. Bringing in the last year's 2018 in, showing what happened. Looking at a projection for 19, and then a business plan of what are you going to do different? What are you looking at? What are you going to spend money on? What they're not going to spend money on?
And when it comes to milk production, he says even with our current surplus problems, a producer does need to continue to produce quality milk.
And components are extremely important today. You need to be looking at 6 pounds of components when you combine the fat and protein. The other thing that they need to make sure that they're doing is taking care of the cows plus and minus 30 days of calving.
And when it comes to replacements, Saporsky says keep an eye on your number of heifers.
Make sure you're not spending a whole lot of money on a heifer that's not worth as much, sadly, when she becomes fresh. So only raise what you need.